with us today to highlight some of the recent national issues that is bedeviling this country is our comrade and Prof. Fagua Maberu. It's a pleasure to have you on Sahara TV again.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Nigerians are planning a nationwide protest. Nigerians are set to hit the streets again against the crippling economic hardship in the country. And Nigerians, how angry are Nigerians with the recent, hardship in the country? And do you see any reason or basis for Nigerians to come out at this time?
Absolutely. In fact, there's more reasons in the sense that currently we are living at a terrible time. We are living at a time where we have been told by Oxfam that the current inflation rate in this country is at 40%. Many people don't know this, but we need to tell them. Never in the point of time, never at any point in time in our recent history that, the inflation rate had to go up to as far as 40%. And we also have to educate our people by also telling them that it is not just a reflection of what is happening in Nigeria. It's also a reflection of what is happening across the African continent. Before this time, we have been told that the youngest population in the world right now resides in Africa. That is the number of younger people living in the whole world. You can get a proportionate number of that only in Africa. It has been said that the country with the youngest population in the whole world is Niger. About 70%, 30%, 50% rather, of Niger residents, that is the citizens of Niger, about 50% are below the age of 15. Across the African continent, 70% of the totality of our people in Africa, over 70% of our people in Africa, about 30%, 70% of them, about 35, you have 35 years range. That is, you have a percentage of 70% of people, when in actual fact, the entirety of them are living below the age of 35. So what that tells you is that we are living at a terrible time in Africa, a time where most of our people, despite the fact that it's the continent with the youngest population, most of our people are suffering from the crisis of unemployment, most of our people are suffering from the crisis of poverty, crisis of joblessness, crisis of homelessness, and all of these realities confront the mass of our people. And so therefore, we cannot but have this backlash. We cannot but have this reaction. We cannot but have this mass of our people gathering, mobilizing themselves, putting themselves in organizations to eat at the Nigerian state. Because the core issue is that prices of goods had gone up. Cost of living had gone up. Beyond that, our people cannot move from point A to point B without not necessarily working their fingers to the bones, without not necessarily breaking their neck. So when you're living in this kind of society, when you're living under this kind of conditions or realities, you cannot but have a mass action, which is what we are having as at this material point in time, not just in Nigeria, but across the African continent. Our recent findings have shown that most of our people also in Ghana are mobilizing themselves. Most of our people in Liberia are mobilizing themselves. So these ignorant people moving here and there telling us that the reactions that we are getting today are politically motivated and nothing but ignorant elements. They are retrogressive elements. They are those that are in fact responsible for how backward this society is.
Talking about these elements, and as the hunger protest movement continues to gain momentum, with thousands of Nigerian youths set to take action, national and state authorities are beginning to warn the organizers to tread softly, and that the protests will actually lead to anarchy. Do you agree with the sentiment?
Absolutely not. You see, look, let us go back to the history of demonstrations in this country. You will find out that cases where we've had violence were only instances where members of the ruling class were the ones that propelled this violence. As a matter of fact, the recent one that confronts us is the NSAS protest, the NSAS movement. Fact, evidences have shown that mass of our youth, were actually attacked by state-sponsored youth, by state-sponsored thugs. We have several instances of this. As a matter of fact, in Lagos, the government had to get BLT buses, to mobilize youth, to mobilize thugs, rather, against the protesters. So these are facts. These are realities that confront us. Whenever you have movements such as this, it is members of the ruling class that will mobilize thugs against the people. And it's not just the question of thugs. It's also the fact that the members of the ruling class have been moving etasketa, trying to control the narrative. They have been telling the mass of our people that, this protest, indeed is being organized by a member of a political elite, which is nothing but an illusion. Peter Obi has no right whatsoever, in fact, has nowhere without to mobilize the mass of Nigerian people against their anger. Why? Because Peter Obi is member of the ruling class. So members of the ruling class shouldn't hide under the cover that these protests, these demonstrations, these grievances are to be expressed under the banner of a Peter Obi or a Labour Party. As a matter of fact, this protest, this demonstration, as we have had it, has no face. And there should be no apologies about that. Most movements that is at the core of the anger of the people, that is at the core of the grievances of the people, stimulate the natural anger of the people, under the control of no organization or under the control of no political figure. So members of the ruling class shouldn't try to bamboozle our people, shouldn't try to hoodwink our people by telling them that this protest, this demonstration is under the leadership of any organization or any public figure. This is the movement of the people. This is the movement, this is the people rising, against those that have said that they are going to, they are going to, they are going to be getting rid of out of the surface of human heart, clearly because of their own personal greed.
Now, let me ask you, because in the same vein, like we've seen leaders from the southern and northern parts of the country also joining the government to oppose the planned protest. The question is, why is the government and the ruling elite jittery at this point in time?
Well, they have to. Why? Because we have to also understand the fact that what is happening or what is about to happen in Nigeria is already happening in several other countries. And of course, they are pointing finger to Kenya by saying that, yeah, what is happening? But what is happening in Kenya is also a reflection of decades of mass dissolution. Most of our people in that part of the world have been denied their existence as human beings even in the 21st century. And the point is that the issues in Kenya, are they existing in Nigeria? Indeed they are. In fact, they are existing in the most terrible manner. The inflation rate in Nigeria currently stands at over 40%. In Kenya, it's below 30%. So you begin to have an understanding of the fact that if at all there was to be a movement, if at all there was to be a protest or a demonstration, it would have been in this country, not even in Kenya. So the Nigerian ruling class should be grateful, should be really be grateful to the Nigerian youth and the Nigerian people really for not doing what they are doing in Kenya earlier. Because the situations are there for us. The situations are far not more terrible as they are in Kenya for us to have acted. But, as we would always say, there would always be a point in time where the chickens of the ruling class would come down to roost. And the chickens of the Nigerian ruling class, fortunately for us and unfortunately for them, has come to roost. And they have nowhere to hide. They have nowhere to run to. Whether they like it or not, a replica of what is happening in Kenya would happen. Human beings are not animals. Human beings are not donkeys. Human beings are not, goats that you have to tie down whenever they are hungry. No. Human beings would definitely, express their anger. They have the right to express their disillusionment with the government, which is what we are having today. And so no government should hide under the cover of what is happening in Kenya to say that they are trying to copy, or the youth in Nigeria are trying to, hook, line, and sinker, participate in the whole affair of what is happening. No. This is a genuine movement against mass hunger, against mass poverty that the Nigerian ruling class has put us into clearly because of their greed.
Is there any message you would like to pass to some civil society organizations and organizations that have called also for Nigerians not to hold these protests, but to wait patiently for the ruling government in order to get the gains of democracy?
Well, I would say that the ruling class, at whatever point in time, had always instigated members of the society against, the people themselves, those that are genuinely interested in transformation, those that are interested, that are genuinely interested in change. The only message that I think all of these elements should, that should be sent to these elements is that we must go back to history. Whenever the people rises, whatever comes in their way, had always go down, feet below. Several instances during the June 12, the military government the military regimes, tried as much as possible. They worked their fingers to the bones to raise all different organizations, different so-called civil societies against the people. But what ended it? They ended in the trash can of history. So all of these civil society movements, all of these nuances going on around, all of these elements, the security forces, the police, the army, all of these elements going here and there, telling the people not to come out, they would end up in nothing but the trash can of history.
Now, let me get your perspective on how conscious Nigerians are towards this protest action. Are Nigerians riled up, and could you give us an experience for us from your travel back to Lagos?
Amazingly interesting in the sense that gone are those days where you need a whole long, hours of lectures, for people to understand what is happening in this country. The reality today is that you really do not need that. Most of our people now understand what the issues are because you cannot go to the market and not say that you do not understand what is wrong with this country. You cannot begin to nurse the idea of sending your walls to the university or to the schools, to the primary schools, to the secondary schools, and say that you do not know how backward the economy of this country is. Recently, I had to join a particular commercial bus to come down to Lagos, and in the bus, most of our people in the bus were saying that they would join the protest whether the government likes it or not. These are people that have never been to they haven't been to any organizational event before. They haven't participated in any radical, organizational events before. They haven't, participated in the people's struggle really. But the issues, the daily issues, the existential issues confront them. And therefore we are saying that this time around, it is about the mass coming out. They don't need any organization. They don't need any movement to push them outside. And they are doing so because of the mass disenchantment with the realities that confront us today. So the government today has no right, has nowhere without to begin to say that these are the people that are going to come out or these are the people that are not going to come out. Because the issues confront everybody. Be it in the north, be it in the south, be it in the west, be it in the east. Mass poverty is a reality. And most poverty is a reality because this government has turned itself to an errand boy of the IMF and the World Bank, financial institutions. And our people must understand this. What Arudni had told us, that the duty of any African today is to understand the modus operandi of the system. The duty of every living African today is to understand how the system works, how the system of oppression works, how the system of exploitation works. You don't need any organization to tell you that this is why you are poor. You don't need any, revolutionary movement to tell you. You must understand why you are poor. And the only way at which you can understand this is to understand why your government has consistently or have consistently been borrowing money from IMF and World Bank. In Kenya, the mass anger that our people have in that particular part of the world is central to the evil dealings that the government, over the decades, over the years have had with IMF and World Bank. They take too much loans with no results whatsoever. They take loans when in actual fact the people are in mass poverty, people are in a state of penury. That is the reality of the backward, useless ruling class that we have in Africa, whether in Kenya, whether in Somalia, whether in Uganda, whether in Ghana, across the African continent, we have mad people in government. They take loans from IMF, they take loans from World Bank, and sell the nation. They depreciate the value of the currency. They devalue the value of the currency. They remove subsidies. Who does that at this particular point in time in any society? But the terrible ruling class we have in Africa have to do that. They have to do that because they are inherently backward and retrogressive and primitive. And that is why their actions are not different from that of a daylight robber.
Finally, it has often been said that it is essential for activists and young Africans to pause and reflect on the gains, the consequences, and outcomes of mobilizing and protesting. How can youths, Nigerian youths at this point in time, protest without shedding blood and sacrificing the lives of many?
Well, the point is very, very direct in the sense that our demonstration, our disenchantment with the government has got to be expressed in the best and effective way where it hits them most. We cannot begin to, express this anger without not getting the actual results that we need. And if we need that long-lasting result, it is to say that this movement has got to be ideological. And how is it going to be ideological? You protested against Buhari, quite all right. Now you are protesting against Tinubu. Could you just take time to ask yourself, why are these protests, why are these demonstrations consistently happening? Because it is only when you ask yourself these reasons that you'll be able to come out with, productive solutions. And we are here, providing that, that analysis. And which is the analysis of the fact that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that differentiates the regime or the administration of Buhari from what Tinubu seems to be doing at this material point in time. Tinubu has been taking loan from the same creditors that, Buhari was involved with. Tinubu has been bedding and whining with the same members of the international ruling class that, Buhari wine and dine with. They've been borrowing money from these guys. They've been devaluing the currency. They've been asking this element to remove subsidies. They've been asking this element not to put money in, basic infrastructures. They've been asking this element not to put money into housing, not to put money into, health, not to put money into other sectors that mean so much to the mass of the people. So, the point we are making is that you cannot join this protest without this demonstration, without not understanding that the ultimate target, the ultimate goal is to get rid of this consistent ruling class that are errand boys and errand girls to the IMF, to the World Bank, and other agents of the international finance capital.
So what is your final message to Nigerians?
Well, my final message is very, very simple. Here and there, you have it. When you go to the internet, you have all of these persons trying to, discourage the people, telling them that do not join the protest. You have all of these, reactionary elements. These elements that are under the payroll of the Nigerian state. And they come to you as so-called celebrities. They come to you as so-called influencers. And they are moving up and down, telling the mass of people not to join protests, that the protest indeed, is so-called being sponsored by members of the ruling class. This is nothing but an illusion. We are saying to members of the ruling class, please do not buy to these, narratives. Nigerians, rather. Do not buy to these narratives. Why you shouldn't buy to these narratives is that it's about your future. It's about your future. It's about your destiny. Those that are telling you not to join the protests are doing so essentially out of their own, personal selfish reasons. They have ulterior motives for doing so. Do not listen to this element. You have got to fight for your future. You have got to stand against those that have consistently said that you are not a human being even in the 21st century in this country. There's nothing correct, there's nothing right about you struggling for power supply in this century. There's nothing right about you having to work your fingers to the bones before getting the little things to hit. These are issues that confront us, and as such, do not buy to these narratives. Do not buy to these narratives that are meant to keep us in perpetual state of darkness.
Well, comrade and prof, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure.
We'll be right back.